Welcome into the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about Animal Collective and their new record, Time Skiffs. That was released on February 4th. This is the band's 11th studio album, and it follows 2016's Painting With, an album that I think we can all agree was not this band's finest moment. And I'll argue that that album reflects why I've always kind of had a beef with this band. I like a lot about Animal Collective. I like the idea of the collective. Reminds me a lot of a psychedelic indie pop Wu-Tang Clan. But if you're not familiar with this band, an Animal Collective album can be any and all members coming together. And I think that that lends itself to a very unique creative dynamic, and I like that idea. I like that this band really has always had a focus on pop music. And chamber pop, really, I would argue, is the major sound that is driving the vocal element of their music anyway. It's one of my favorite things about this band. And, you know, I know that they're not crazy about the Beach Boy comparisons, but when you listen to the harmonies and especially how well they're put together, it's hard not to think of a band like the Beach Boys who really laid the foundation for this style of music. And, you know, I would argue that Animal Collective, to a certain degree, from a vocal standpoint, has, you know, done this type of music better than anybody else since the Beach Boys. I will say that talking about Painting With and the music on that record, I feel like oftentimes those beautiful vocal harmonies that they've developed over the years get lost in this just scattered collage of music. Now, oftentimes I like what they're doing musically, but there's a lot of times too where their sound feels very cluttered. Honestly, it's feels like the equivalent of listening to a Transformers movie. You know, when you're just watching all of those Transformers break down or just, you know, get back into whatever form it is, it's visually so much to take in that I find obnoxious. And sometimes I feel that way about their music, and I feel like that what they're doing well gets lost just at the expense of experimentation. And I think that that ultimately has really killed a lot of their music, especially in the last 10 years. What I like about this record is you're getting a feel of those records like Strawberry Jam and Feels. There's really just a lot of easy listening music on this. A lot of, you know, nice compositions that have been put together for this record. The vocal harmonies that are laid over the music are absolutely fantastic. But I will say now that in an attempt to, I don't know, I guess correct the ship, they've made an album that, you know, like I said, is very easy to listen to, but it's not creative or experimental. This album very much sounds like all the sounds that they played with in the mid to late 2000s, and, you know, to an extent that they're not working with or growing with it. This album feels like they're making up for, I guess, recording Painting With. I don't know. That's just the vibe that I'm getting from it. And for all the good things that there are on this record, it just feels like it's going through the motions for this band. And that's really unfortunate to see that after 6 years. This thing kicks off with Dragon Slayer, which I'd say is definitely one of the better songs on this record. Verses have this nice synth element. I like the way that the synth just like spirals downward, is this feeling that it creates. And it's a very unique song. I like the way that it picks up the pace and the coda at the end. And it's a great way to kick off this record. Your second song, Car Keys, light instrumentation, you get this gentle chugging bass, and I like the percussion breakdown. But this is, the first part of this album is, again, it feels very just unoriginal. It's easy to listen to, it's pleasant to listen to, but you want more from these guys, from four cats who have based their reputation on experimenting and pushing the limitations of their creativity. These two songs to open up this record just feel very safe. Prester John is your third track. Probably one of the highlights. I like the harmonies on this track. They're great. It's got this gentle, funky groove that's driving it. Certainly a phenomenal song. And it leads into the middle of this record. The fourth, fifth, and sixth song on this record are phenomenal. I really like the middle chunk of this record, starting with Strung With Everything. It's just got this noise intro that is very much, you know, stylistically what you'd expect from this band. But then it kicks into this Eastern influenced groove. It's got this big explosive poppy end. This is the kind of track that I really wish would have filled out this entire record. Strung With Everything is definitely the highlight in my opinion. A really fun song. Lots of different phases in the composition. And, you know, like I said, it's too bad that more of this record didn't feel like this string of songs. Walker is your fifth song. I just really cannot help but hear the Beach Boys in this song, and that is not a bad thing. Like I said, I know these guys are not huge fans of that comparison, but this song is evoking that, and I think it's why I like this band so much. Vocally, that song is spot on. And your sixth song, Cherokee, is very unique. It's got this light progressive feel, kind of this like space rock element incorporated to it. And again, you get this, this particular song, it's got enough unique nuances that it's, creating some separation from the rest of the songs while also fitting in perfectly. So another fine example of when this band is really working well. And then the last three tracks on this thing, Passerby, just a very forgettable moment for me on this record. And it's a fine example of a melody that it's good, but then they just try to cycle it for 4 minutes and it just gets banal. It's unfortunate when you see, I guess the good stuff work itself into, I guess, something that's not so great like that. We Go Back is your 8th song. It's got this obnoxious grandfather clock melody that's carrying the song. I don't know what they were thinking when they wrote this, especially for a penultimate track. This thing is killing me. I keep listening for 3.5 minutes, waiting for this grandfather clock to finally strike on whatever hour it might be striking on. And it just never does. And I don't like the melody. I think it's a terrible way to lead into your last track, Royal and Desire, which is, it's kind of getting back into that Dragon Slayer feel, pulling the tempo back a little bit. This album, just after 6 years and after 2016's Painting With, really just is unfortunate. I was expecting a lot more from this band. I guess I've been expecting much more from this band for 2 decades now, which is why I'm going to vinyl pass on this. I would say if you're a fan of that earlier sound, you're really going to dig this record, but it's nothing more than nostalgia. It's really just these guys, like I said, it feels like they're just going through the motions and really not pushing themselves creatively in any way. It feels like a safe way of making up for Painting With, and I just got to pass on it for that reason. But I hope if you do listen to this album that you do end up enjoying it. I hope you find this review helpful as well. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2022, and stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We'll see you next time on the Beat Sessions.